everybody! So I'm back today with a layout that is going to tick off a bunch of boxes. First box we're going to tick off is I'm playing along with one of Christy's sketches from Christy's Beautiful Life. I will be scrapbooking this photo, which is for one of the challenges at the Rediscover Your Stash Facebook group, which is to document about a virtual relationship. And then I'm also going to be using these products from my How to Kill a Kit with Style for April. So I have lots of scraps here. We are going to create a layout that is eclectic and colorful and totally different, right? So let's start with the stamping. So I'm going to use bright, fun colors. I'm going to be using this halftone squares stamp set along with some flowers. So my idea for this layout is that I wanted to bring in a little bit of all of my virtual friends' styles, which means this layout is going to be really eclectic, but super fun, and I love how it turned out. So for one of the challenges in the Crafting at a Distant event, which is still going on and runs through the end of April in the Rediscover Your Stash Facebook group, one of the challenges was to document a virtual friendship. So I have a photo here. It's a collaged photo of a group of five, because I'm in the photo too. So 5 of my virtual friends. We have been friends for 3 years, maybe a little more. We have helped each other start businesses. We've helped each other do launch classes, and so the 6 of us really support each other, and so I wanted to document. So I started by stamping those half-tone squares in fun, bright colors. Now I'm going to take the Floral Garden stamp set, which is from Altenew, and it is part of my How to Kill a Kit with Style for April, and I'm going to take those same 4 colors, and I'm going to stamp lots of flowers and leaves and create these beautiful embellishments for my layout. So this layout is going to be, like I said, incredibly eclectic and fun, but I do love what I came up with in the end. There's a little bit of like modern pop art kind of feel to this layout that I think is super fun. So I am just right now stamping out all of these flowers in all different colors and then some leaves. And then off camera, I'm going to I'm going to die cut a bunch of squares. So I'm going to die cut all those halftone squares that I stamped. And then I'm going to die cut a whole mess of squares out of some pattern paper that you probably wouldn't associate with the colors and design of either the florals or those halftone squares. And then I'm going to fussy cut all these flowers and we'll get our page together. So the sketch that I'm working with calls for like a center band across the middle of the page, and they do hearts. I'm doing squares. So these are those squares of pattern paper that I told you about. So these squares are from Prima. They're all Prima papers, and then the one gray floral is Maggie Holmes. And they're a little bit vintagey and a little bit like a little bit shabby chic, vintagey. But in this particular layout, they're actually just going to add a neutral base, which we're then going to use to load color on top of. So the only color I took from this pattern paper that I then did use in the rest of my layout is that kind of aqua-y color, and then the silver. We're going to silver touches, but the rest of these patterns in the background are really going to fade into the background. I'm also using squares instead of hearts on my layout for an incredibly lazy reason. That is because I don't have any heart dies and I didn't feel like cutting hearts on my silhouette. So yeah, incredibly lazy reason. Okay, so this is how I'm going to go ahead and start my background. I'm going to kind of try to get all of these squares glued together without shifting them too much because I really like their placement. So if you have noticed and missed me for most of this week, on Tuesday we lost one of our dogs, my oldest son's beagle, who he's had since he was 8, and he was 13 years old. Passed away on Tuesday afternoon. And for those of you that are new to my channel or don't know a lot of backstory, my oldest son is autistic. So his beagle was kind of like his therapy dog. He was a little bit more than just a pet to a lot of our family. So it was very kind of traumatic. And while he died of old age. He was old. It was still very traumatic and heartbreaking for all of us. So I took the bulk of this week off and actually didn't get into my craft room creating until yesterday. So I'm going to play catch up. You're not going to miss any videos. I'm still doing my Shimel sketches. I'm doing all of my planned videos. They're just going to be kind of bulked together through the weekend. I think now that we've kind of settled down a little bit and the initial grief has kind of subsided, especially with my oldest son, who, for obvious reasons, is taking this particular death very, very hard. So yeah, that's where I've been. I did post on Facebook about it, so you may have seen the post there, but I'm taking time to get my son through his grieving process. So I was able to go ahead and get all of those squares down the way I wanted them. I put just a little border around my photo, mostly for just some separation against the background. Now we're going to start adding in the color. So these are the stamps. These are from Altenews Halftone Squares stamp set, and I have the coordinating dies that go with them. In fact, the coordinating dies are how I cut all the squares for my background. So I stamped them out. Halftone squares I love their halftone line. So they have squares and circles, and then they have hearts and stars too, and they're all fabulous. And they are awesome stamps because you can see there how they kind of like fade out. Like the squares are like mod looking, and they kind of ombre out. A really, really cool stamp set, super usable for lots and lots of things. So I really like them. And then I have all these flowers. Now what I did was, these flowers, you can color them. You could do anything with them. I chose just to stamp them in different colors of ink. And then again, they're just going to provide some space. And you can now kind of notice how that background that started out as being like kind of vintagey and shabby chic, and now that we're kind of covering it up with all this color, it's going to kind of fade into the background and kind of just look very neutral. It's not where your eye is going to go first unless you look very carefully. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on here and add all of these little leaves and flowers and tuck them in and around this main center point of my layout. And then I'm going to add my title, which is going to be #ScrappyTribe, because that's what these guys are. I talked about that a little bit earlier. We are super supportive of each other. Like I said, we started businesses and supported each other through businesses and through classes and through good times and bad times, and just kind of navigating the crafting industry. We've pretty much done it together for a huge part of our journeys. So I have these beautiful Rosie Studio flap butterflies, and I'm going to use the whole pack up. So that's awesome because this month the Rediscover Your Stash product focus is leftovers, and we are collecting pictures of empties. And so this is an empty one right here. Now I pulled some Scrap and Happy Studio epoxy flare from my stash to add here. These are, I think that they're from two different packs. One is a pack called like DIY, but it has things like scissors and paintbrushes. And then the other one is a pack that's just like these really usable, versatile black and white cameras. Now, to continue on with the idea of adding a little bit of each of my scrappy friends to this layout, we needed just a touch of mixed media. If you're looking up there, you can see Hannah Lemieux and Beth Solar, and you know those girls, they like to get messy. So I grabbed some shimmers in Ose Can You See and Pink Stiletto, and I'm adding some lovely splatters to the top and bottom of my layout in these coordinating colors. I'm using that white paper as almost like a mask. It's just a scrap of white paper, and I'm just using it as a mask because I don't want the splatters to come down into my layout. I want them to just be along the top and along the bottom. And that's going to complete this one. Here are all of your close-ups. Thank you so much for joining me today. Get ready because we have tons. I hope, if everything goes well, we'll have tons of videos all weekend since I pretty much took the whole week off. I know this is the second video for today because the first one was done for Cut to You, and it was done ages ago before everything happened with my son's dog. So, all right, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye.